On today's show, we react to the Leafs' wacky win over the Panthers, and it's a time to give Joe Woll a run in goal. We'll discuss that along with some other league-wide news on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf centered podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. And if you used the Game Time app and picked up tickets to tonight's Leafs and Panthers game, you were treated to a wild one, Dave. That was one of the strangest endings to a game that I have ever seen in my life. For those who missed it, I suppose, basically Florida thought they won the game in a shootout. Coaches, players, fans, all halfway out the building. And then a review comes through and it reveals that the puck was double touched by Evan Rodriguez. The game goes on as the goal is then disallowed, and the Leafs end up winning in the next round. Noah Gregor roofs it, and then Joe Woll with a little revenge save on Nick Cousins to end the game in a shootout. And Toronto, instead of only picking up a pity point, gets the full 2. A crazy, crazy ending, Dave. I've never seen anything quite like it. It was entertaining.
I had only seen this once before.
Really?
Where a goal was reviewed. Pittsburgh, and actually it was brought up on Twitter too. Pittsburgh and the Rangers, I believe it was. The Rangers thought they got the shootout winner, but what happened was the puck rebounded off the post and off the player's stick and back into the net.
So basically the same. Yeah. This one went off of the and this, in real time, you would have no idea, no clue that this happened. And then they showed the aerial shot of the puck bouncing off of Woll's pad and then ricocheted maybe half an inch. And it ends up going back off of Rodriguez's stick and into the back of the net. And a couple minutes later, everyone had to come back out onto the ice. Joe Woll said that he literally was in the locker room and already had his gear off. His gloves were already off in the locker room, thinking that he had just taken an L. Instead, he comes out, makes the next stop, and wins the game. And it's funny, how different the, vibe in that room is now after, how it ended compared to how it would have been if they actually took the loss.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, thank God for video review. This is one of the few times where you can say
yeah.
And just the immediate reaction to Noah Gregor scoring that goal too, especially Mike Johnson on the broadcast, I give him a lot of credit. He made that whole sequence a wacky sequence even more bizarre.
Well, what's funny about that is, so not only did it was it beneficial for the Maple Leafs for that whole sequence to unfold the way it did with them picking up the 2 points, but Mike Johnson, on his Mystic Mike prediction before the game, it included a Florida Panthers money line, which he needed for his parlay to cash. And in fact, at one point, he had a Leafs money line. So at one point, that parlay was dead in the water when Florida won. But then when Toronto came back at the disallowed goal, won the game, it went from a bad beat to a good win. It's crazy how that game swung for him too. So I'm sure he's pretty excited about that one as well. Let's get into it though, because it was a pretty solid game, and I don't think we can go too long without giving props to one specific player, and that is Joseph Woll, because as well as I think the Leafs played in the second and in the third period, overtime was kind of meh, I guess. Joseph Woll was the team's best player tonight. by far, he was their best player. Like, he kept that team in it because the Leafs were asleep at the wheel in the first period. You look at the expected goals, just 35%. That thing was all Florida all the time. I mean, if you go and you look at the underlying numbers on Natural Stat Trick after the first 20 minutes, the shot attempts when the Leafs' best players were out there, I sent out a tweet. It's actually insane what we saw happening out there in the first period. Morgan Rielly out for shooting attempts, the shot share, 20-0, 20-0. Not a single shot attempt directed on net while he was out there on the ice. We're showing it up here now on Twitter, up on YouTube. Look at this. You got Austin Matthews, Camp, Nyes, Rielly, Gregor, Reeves, TJ Brody, all on the ice. 0 shot attempts. Not shots, shot attempts. William Nylander was on the ice for 1 singular shot attempt. It was crazy how badly those guys got caved in defensively in the opening 20 minutes. But they came alive in the second and third and made it a competitive game. But the only reason why they were able to do that is because Joseph Woll stood on his head early.
Yeah, no, he was the only reason why I didn't throw up my dinner after watching that period. Like, it was like, it wasn't just that they were being outplayed by the Panthers. It's one thing if the other team is better than you. It's another thing when the team is just uncompetitive, not even look like they were trying, right? In a lot of ways, it was like the Senators looked against the Panthers the night before, where the Panthers just owned the game and the Senators were just looking lackluster, right? Like,
well, yeah, absolutely, and that's what's going to happen when you play a good team like this. This team went to the Stanley Cup final a year ago. They beat you to get there. I mean, obviously, they're a good squad. They're currently second in the division. I mean, look, this is a good team, and if you're not ready to go, they will. They are like this team. They start at puck drop. You know that's the case when it comes to Florida Panthers, and the Maple Leafs weren't ready. But luckily, they did figure their game out. And I thought that they really controlled play there in the second and the third period. You look at the expected goals, 65% for Toronto in the second, and then 71% in the third period in all situations. Got to tip your cap to Anthony Stolarz too. Like, this was a true goalie battle. I mean, 1 goal apiece, and there were 35 plus shots on each side.
Yeah, like Joseph Woll was getting a lot of praise for that game, but like Anthony Stolarz, yeah, there was he got bailed out.
He got lucky post cross, like Nylander had 2 near goals.
There was the one in the crease that was he got bailed out big time.
Yeah.
Right, that got fished out. So, but in a lot of ways, like, that was a tight game. It felt like, in honesty, except for the overtime and shootout, felt like a playoff-like game.
It did. And you know why? I felt it in my gut. Like, sports gives me anxiety, which probably isn't great for my mental health, but it is what it is. And it honestly, it feels like it's been a while since I've had that like anxious feeling, but it's because I cared, because the game made me care. The way that the team was playing made me care because they actually were giving some effort out there. And when that thing was tied at the end and they were trading chances back and forth, and in the second period when they were going wave after wave, I was like, okay, I'm into this. Like, I am really into this hockey game. And I don't know, maybe because the last couple of weeks it's been a weird schedule. There's been a lot of time in between games, and then we hadn't really had any weekday games in the regular time slot, and then they hadn't won a 7:00 game since like November 12th. Like, it's been over 2 weeks since they've won like a regular time slot game. So I don't know if that had anything to do with the enjoyment factor of this one. But yeah, man, I'm with you. I thought this did have a bit of a playoff type atmosphere. And you even look at, I thought the Maple Leafs were actually quite physical tonight. You saw one time Mitch Marner dump the defender when he was in on a forecheck. I didn't quite see it, but I heard Mike Johnson on the call say that Austin Matthews dumped a guy right in front of the boards.
Literally, they both got the same player. Marner, it was Mikola. Marner got him along the boards.
He's a big boy. Like, Mikkel is like 6'4", 230. Like, that's a big dude.
Yeah, Matthews like pushed him and he kind of fell into the boards. Mitch was like he hit him against the boards. Like,
yeah.
I was like, when I saw the replay, I'm like, that I guess the full cage made Mitch feel more like, yeah, I can go and hit guys now. Like,
I guess he's nails now. Now he's the one of the Bash Bros, right? From Mighty Ducks. I don't know. But yeah, I thought they were physical. Like they registered 40 shots or 40 hits tonight on the Florida Panthers. Like that's
Yeah.
not something you typically see out of a Toronto team. So I thought they definitely showed up in many ways. They showed pushback after not starting out on a good didn't get a good start. And then the goaltending obviously was great. So a lot of good, some bad, obviously throughout this game. Why don't we take a quick break? Let's come back. Let's get to our 3 stars and then break down a couple other things that I noted from tonight's hockey game. So before we get into all that, though, I do want to tell you guys about one of today's show sponsors, and it's our good pals over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We are a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast. You can find us wherever you get your pods at, whichever app you use. Also up on YouTube, where you can watch the video form of the show. We do have new content coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. And leave a like if you enjoy the video, and let us know down below, what did you think of tonight's game? What did you make of, the Leafs pushback against a pretty physical Florida team? And ultimately, was that the craziest turn of events you've ever seen to end a game? 1 minute you think you're losing the thing, and then literally 3 minutes later, you've actually won it and put the full 2 points in your backpack to take home. A crazy win. We're reacting to it here on the show today, and as we do with every victory, I was getting ready, Dave, to do the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right, I was getting ready to do it, and then just like everyone else, I had to kind of do the old rewrite last minute, because after a victory, we do the 3 stars, Dave. So why don't we start off with the 3rd star of the hockey game, Dave? Who you got?
Yeah, it's a redo my thoughts on that one when with everything going on, and he had a bad first period, not like no beating around the bush.
I already know who you're gonna say, because I got the same individual.
But you're down a defenseman. Morgan Rielly played 30 minutes tonight.
Yeah. And
he actually ended up as a positive.
Yeah. I mean, there was only 2 goals that were scored, but yeah, he happened to be on the ice for it. So he was a +1 in those 30 minutes. But yeah, like Mark Giordano goes down, and not too sure what the update is there.
Sheldon Keefe did actually update to say that he is going to miss some time, and that the Leafs are going to be quite thin on the blue line at practice.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I guess Laguson's back in the fold again, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have many other options, right? Like, I don't know who else.
Well, you don't. I mean,
I think they're gonna need that I think they're gonna need that Klingberg update a little bit sooner, so they can figure things out. Because well, he is on LTIR, so you can make a move if you need to, but
they can. Yes, they could make a trade potentially. Maybe that's something that we could talk about a little bit tomorrow, potentially, if there's some more information there. But that's the latest, I suppose, is Mark Giordano expected to miss some time, which is unfortunate, because love it or hate it, he was playing top 4 minutes for your Toronto Maple Leafs. Now you need to put another tweener NHLer up in the top 4, which is not great. Or you could just play Morgan Rielly for 30 minutes a night, like they did today. Like that's the other solution, where this guy was just like double shifting every other shift. This guy was coming over the boards, And outside of the first period, I thought that he was real solid. You know, he was jumping up into the rush, doing the things that Morgan Rielly that you expect for him to do. He had that one play in the third period too, which I mean that was a game-saving play. That's a 1-1 hockey game, and he gets on his high horse and back checks Nick Cousins, who was in on a near breakaway, and just perfectly plays it and knocks the puck off of away from him, and negates that opportunity. So I thought that he was tremendous tonight in the later half of that hockey game. He was my third star as well.
Yeah, I mean that's it, right? That Morgan Rielly, we already know people's thoughts on him as a defenseman. This is probably some of the best, like, overall Morgan Rielly we've seen. Yeah, offensively, he's not doing what we thought he was gonna bring from the playoffs, right? And put up more goals and stuff like that.
Well, he is, though. That's the
I
thing
know.
too. Like, I think he up until tonight, didn't he have points in like 8 straight games or something? Like, he is factoring in offensively too.
Yeah, like I know people had this idea that he's not going to be that 20 goal scoring defenseman we saw before. Yeah,
Right.
I think 16 points in 20 games, not really much more you can ask. But
Great
it's
game.
what it is for me. He's not looking lost defensively like we've seen him in the past, where he lost confidence in himself last year.
Yeah.
Now, in a lot of ways, he's bailed out this team so many times, right? Asked to play, like when guys go down, and it's happened a few times this year. It's Morgan Rielly that's had to step up and take the minutes, right? And I mean, it's kind of expected of him.
Well,
But
this is the third time that the Leafs have lost a top 4 defenseman in the opening period of a hockey game. Like, we're only 20 games in, and 3 times already they've had to play shorthanded for 2/3 of a game, and people have had to step up. Some nights it was Brody. That one night Klingberg had to step up and play when there was right-handed injuries. But a couple times here it's had to be Morgan Rielly, and it was him again tonight. And look, for him, I'm starting to believe that like he just wasn't healthy last year. Like, he came back from that injury and just didn't really look the same until the playoffs, and then he looked stellar. I think he's looking healthy. He can skate again. Like, he wasn't skating well last year. This year, he is skating at an elite rate. So that's something that is clearly something that is, when he's at his best, he's doing that. I don't know if him and Tessa are doing some skates, in the summer to make him a little more fleet on his foot or whatever it is. Whatever they're doing, it's working. But yeah, Morgan Rielly, he was great tonight. All right, second star, Dave.
second star, got to give it to Noah Gregor.
Yeah, buddy.
What a shot! Like, all 3 goals he's scored this year, like off his stick, like perfectly placed shots. His, obviously his skating and his speed coming into a factor as well. Like, what a pickup. And it was good that the thing is too, like, this guy had to work to get to this point, right? Nothing was guaranteed for him, and look what he's done this year.
Well, so Noah Gregor, it's funny, when he came to Toronto, he's my second star as well, by the way. Lone goal in regulation, scores the game winner in the shootout. Yeah, no chance he wasn't going to be on this list. But so yeah, Noah Gregor was great. But it's funny because we talked about kind of the comparable in a way of Noah Gregor when he first got here, and it was like, he's going to remind you a little bit of Michael Grabner, right? He's a guy who's got speed. He's going to end up, getting some breakaways, but he misses the target a lot. Like, that's kind of what happened. A lot of bad puck luck. Shoots a lot of pucks, but doesn't necessarily score. And that's somewhat been what we've seen so far this year. Again, 3 goals isn't a lot of goals at this point, but you can see that when he does get the shot off that he's looking for, hey man, he could snipe it, right? He's got some pinpoint when he wants it. And twice tonight, put in the exact same spot, top corner, above the blocker of Anthony Stolar. So he knew what he was doing clearly on both of those goals that he scored. And hey, Leafs don't win without either of them, obviously, from Noah Gregor. Also, the fourth line tonight, got to give him the love. Got to give him the love, Dave. Underlying numbers, the only line with a positive expected goals tonight. The only line. Got to give him the love. Ryan Reeves wasn't terrible. Wasn't a big liability.
Love to see it. We love to see it, right, Mike?
Look, hey, yes, I do actually. I would love for Ryan Reeves to turn into Sidney Crosby. Like that. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? A dude with that type of size, if he could turn into a non-liability who you can actually play. Problem is, you see the other Ryan Reeves show up more often than this one. That's been my only argument. It's not that I don't want him to succeed, just what I've seen over the course of the last few years and what I've seen this season, where he's been on the ice for 11 goals against and only won 4. You know, I tend to not think that he's the best option, but worked out tonight, so it's all good. It's all good. Give him the flowers when they're due, Dave. I'm a fair person, I think.
Yeah, you've been fair. You haven't been giving the Ryan Reeves slander for no apparent reason. So,
Joe Woll, first star of the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been. The thing I love most about this game is he knew the importance of this game, not just for the team, but for himself.
Yeah,
considering how the last time he played Florida, everyone was talking about that stupid photo with Radical Gudas screaming in his face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Fitting too that the game ends with him stopping a Nick Cousins breakaway.
Yeah.
Fitting. Very fitting.
Yeah. I love this for Joe Woll for that reason, and for the reason that I'm way more comfortable watching this guy in that than Ilya Samsonov. Samsonov, again, he hasn't been as bad as he was to start the year. He's playing better, but you can tell when Joseph Woll's in net, there's a level of comfort that you have with him. And I think what he showed in that first period was crucial for this team, because if he doesn't play as well as he did, this game's not even, like, Leafs had no chance of winning that game.
Yeah, they're outshot like 15-6 or something like that in that first period. There was like 8 or 9 high danger chances. He stopped 38 of 39 throughout the game, and then obviously made one more stop than Stolarz in the shootout to get the win. But yeah, the way he played in that first 25 minutes to keep this team alive is really why this team won tonight's game. And you look at, expected goals, goal saved above expected. But he have 2.52 goal saved above expected. So he saved 2.5 goals above expectation tonight in all situations. So, hey, if you're keeping 2.5 goals off the scoreboard, you probably had a pretty good night. And Joe Woll certainly did that.
Yeah, he did. And I want to now, you got some important games coming up right now, and I think he deserves the fun.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like that is the obvious next question here is, they've got the Kraken coming in on Thursday.
Yeah.
Is this a type of performance that gets him a run in the net? Like, is he the guy you go to when the Kraken come to town on Thursday?
100%. Like, he did nothing in that game to suggest he doesn't deserve the next start, and goalies need to get into a rhythm, right? You give him the Kraken game. If he plays well again, give him the Bruins game. Like, these are, Samsonov had his chance against the Bruins. They didn't pick up the win in that one. Give Joseph Woll a chance against the Bruins, right? There are going to be, and there's these games are spaced out a little bit where they play Thursday, they play Saturday, then they're off again until Thursday. You can run Joseph Woll a little bit here, and he'll have some time to recover, right? And then you have Samsonov eventually for that crunch, right? Where you have, like, the NHL decides we're going to now throw a bunch of Leaf games at you, right? Where I think they play like Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So Samsonov will get the net again. This is not saying he's not going to see the net for the next little while. Right. Joseph Woll definitely deserves the next game. If he plays well enough, I'd even give him the next game after that.
Honestly, I'm with you, but I would even go a step further. Like, even if they lose, let's say 3-1, 4-2, or something, like if they lose it, unless Samsonov or unless Woll plays like he did when he was in Ottawa, because that wasn't a good performance. I was in the building for that game and he was brutal. Unless you get a brutal performance, like win or lose, as long as he's adequate, I would give him the Boston game no matter what. I think you got to pick one of these guys and just see if they can get hot, get on a little bit of a run. Like I know it's still very early, but you look at, they finally decided a couple weeks ago that they're going to roll with Stuart Skinner in Edmonton, and they sent Jack Campbell down, and he's been given the starts for the last like couple of weeks now. Like he's the starter in Edmonton, and he's finally starting to save some pucks. So he's getting into a bit of a routine. That's what Toronto needs to maybe do with one of these guys, is get them into a routine. Now that they're back, in North America, and they can, playing every other night, basically, get someone into a good routine. And I think there's a lot more trust in Joseph Woll right now. So he'd be the guy who I think the Maple Leafs should look to try and establish that routine with, and get him a good bulk of games here, maybe in the month of December, and see if he can run away with the net. All right. When we get back, Dave, we got a lot of news actually to get to around the NHL. Lots of stuff happening. Patrick Kane has signed, and there's some really interesting news about the NHL All-Star Game that I love. So get into that, and maybe touch on the Corey Perry situation as well, if we have time. So that's all coming up on the other side, so don't go anywhere. Before we go any further, though, I do got to tell you guys about today's show sponsor, and that is Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They're obsessed with finding you ways to help you save money on your tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute deals. And with the Game Time guarantee, it means that you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We are your hosts here at the Locked On Leafs podcast. If you're an everydayer, you already know that. Thank you so much for once again joining us on the show today. If you're brand new to the podcast, you're just stumbling upon us, we appreciate it if you've made it this far, almost 30 minutes into the show. Clearly, you've enjoyed what we've had to say so far, and if that's the case, would ask if you would leave a like on the video, subscribe to the show. We do put out new content each weekday, Monday through Friday. So that would be helpful and greatly appreciated. The one last note I want to make about this game, by the way, we didn't talk a whole lot about, concerns or some bads. Like I said, I was going through the good, the bad, the ugly, and I was like, I got to have something ready to go. We didn't end up using it, but 0 for 6 on the power play tonight. And I was looking back, they're 0 for the last 11 and just 2 for the last 18 tries. The Leafs got to start getting something going here on the power play. The one thing that I've noted, and you let me know if there's anything that you've noticed as a difference from what has been going on the last couple of weeks as opposed to earlier in the year. It seems like, earlier in the season, they prioritize playing low in the zone on the power play. It seems like everything's kind of up high again, and everything's very perimeter and up at the points where, that's not where they've found success on the power play. They were able to work from behind the net and low beyond the goal and then pop things out into the front of the net. That's kind of where they're finding their success. I wonder if we see some sort of change over the next little bit. And I don't mean personnel change, but legitimately hey, let's go back to what we were doing and, get a little bit of a jolt to this man advantage here.
Like, the Leafs aren't a team that scores goals from the point. They don't score from those, from long range. They are a short distance sort of team, right? John Tavares in that wheelhouse in front of the net. Usually that's where he's parked. They're a lot of teams are doing what they usually do with the Leafs. It's collapse low, keep the chances on the outside. and the Leafs have really struggled to get bodies in those scoring areas. Sometimes they were getting two guys sitting in front of the net, and at least then what that did was, create a little bit of chaos for the defenders, right? But now that they're not really doing that, Matthews is, and Nylander are both kind of the guys on the wings there, and there just doesn't seem to be a lot of solid chances getting in clean, right? A lot of them getting blocked. They're not getting, as you said, those passes aren't getting into the slot area. So yeah, that's something they do have to get better at. They got a lot of power play opportunities tonight. Paul Maurice, apparently they took 4,000 penalty minutes in the third period. Well, I mean, your penalty kill, your penalty kill did so well. Mainly because also the Leafs just, I wouldn't say there was a lack of urgency from the power play, but it just wasn't good enough in my opinion. Like, they're not putting themselves in those positions where they're getting quality chances.
Yeah, and they're getting jammed up too a lot, like on the entries as well. So I mean, it's a very vanilla entry. It's something that everybody does, obviously, like the drop pass and then just kind of the flip over once you get to the blue line. But like I don't know, everyone knows that it's happening, and they find some success sometimes. But sometimes I just think if it hasn't worked like 2 or 3 times in one power play, just dump it in and go after it. Like, honestly, and then work your way, from there. Go establish possession and then work your way from there. But anyways, just a small thing, which, hey, not finding success on a power play could be hindering to a team. And I mean, when you've lost 2 of your last 3 games, and in both those games you have 0 power play goals to show for it, I mean, yeah, it's kind of, and even this game, like, you scored 1 goal tonight, 1 goal, and it was from your 4th line. So the power play is definitely something that the Leafs got to get cooking once again. And I mean, we could probably link that also to the struggles of Mitch Marner, and and the fact that he's not dancing with the puck on the man advantage like he typically does. So there's that's a conversation for another day, just something that I noted, and maybe we can try and break it down a little more tomorrow. But there is a lot of news around the league, so let's try and rapid fire through these situations. Patrick Kane has signed with the Detroit Red Wings, so he is now an Atlantic Division foe. It's a 1-year deal. $2.75 million is the AAV. Turns out the Leafs were not front runners, and not even in the final 3, apparently, when it came to where Patrick Kane wanted to go, which, I mean, we didn't expect that really to be a good fit anyways. Turns out he's expected to make his debut potentially next week with Detroit, is what was reported earlier today as well. Are you surprised that he picked the Red Wings? Like, does this move the needle for you at all with this team? Are they a legit playoff team now? Or like, what does this move mean for Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, when we were kind of we went through our breakdown of the Eastern Conference teams, and with Detroit, yeah, one issue we had was not really getting a lot of depth scoring outside of DeBrincat and Larkin. But that blue line has been the biggest issue, right? Patrick Kane's not coming there and fixing the team defensively. Anything, he's not making. There's a lot of negative parts about Patrick Kane on the defensive side of the puck. What I think this does, though, is it obviously gives them another score, right? They can reunite him with DeBrincat. That's probably a big factor in why he went there. I don't mind from Detroit's point of view, because really they don't really have many other guys that, like, you're gonna put him in the lineup and you'd be like, we could take out a lot of guys for Patrick Kane right now, right?
For sure. Like, from Detroit's perspective, it makes all the sense in the world. For Patrick Kane, I'm not sure how much sense it makes. Like, if he's signing a 1-year deal with this team, like, they're not a Stanley Cup contender.
No.
Like, why are you signing? Like, I don't. That's where I'm a little bit confused by this.
I'm hearing that he could sign him. Like, this could turn into a multi-year thing where if he likes it there and they like him, they can continue this.
Yes.
I'm like,
I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But like, out of all the Atlantic Division teams, this is probably like the 5th choice I would have if I was Patrick Kane, right? To go to. Obviously, Florida couldn't afford him at that price that they paid. We know the Leafs just can't afford him in general.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there's some available money now. But
that money needs to go to the blue line, as we know. Yeah, like I thought there were teams, as you said, like that were probably better suited for Patrick Kane.
Dallas to me made a ton of sense.
Oh,
For
of
I
course,
mean,
Dallas is
that's
picking
a
up everyone, right? And I know part of the reason too you have to think about any decision that Patrick Kane is making is travel. The West Coast, Western Conference teams have way worse travel. He has done that for he's been, well, actually, he's done it for most of his career. So he knows how much harder it is on the body, that
right.
type of travel. And I guarantee that's part of the reason why he stayed in the East. That's
Well,
why I thought an East team probably was favorite. Even Carolina would have made a heck of a lot of sense for him.
yeah.
But I guess, I mean, with Detroit, he can at least play a prominent role. And if it doesn't work and it's not a long-term thing for him in Detroit, they can sell him at the deadline and get something from him.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they could, if things really go awry. I guess that is something that could still happen. Really quickly though, like the Patrick Kane's coming off of hip surgery, a hip resurfacing surgery, and Cam Robinson at hockey_Robinson on Twitter, good follow, more of a big prospect guy, but just overall good hockey mind. He noted the 4 players in recent memory that have had hip resurfacing surgery. Nick Backstrom played 47 games and then, well, we know right now is out indefinitely and most likely not ever going to play again. Carl Hagelin retired after undergoing hip resurfacing surgery, as did Ryan Kessler. And then Ed Jovanovski did it and was only able to play 37 games before tapping out. So not a very long history of success after this surgery. So that's one thing to keep in mind too, as to why maybe Detroit didn't necessarily want to go long term, just in case that he's one of these guys. But I think for everyone, we're all hoping, obviously, that he's the anomaly, right? That he can come back and he can play at a high enough level where he can still be a top 6 contributor and be showtime. He's still a very flashy and fun player to watch when he's healthy and playing at his heights like he was at times last year and once he got to New York. So Patrick Kane to Detroit, possibly make his debut next week. Chris Johnston was reporting yesterday also that the NHL player draft is returning to the All-Star Game, Dave, and I am so excited for that.
I'm so happy. I will never forget the drafts. The first one with Phil Kessel being the last pick and getting the car, and then Ovi not wanting to be picked so he can win the car. It just, I understand why. At one point the NHL got away from it, but I think it's good that it's coming back. I'm just praying that the players the players understand the opportunity for them to have a little bit of fun with this.
Yeah, I think they will. And so it's going to be 4 player captains, and they'll all select their teams, and they're going to have a celebrity assistant captain, some sort of celebrity assistant. I'd be curious to see what that means and who.
Well, it's in Toronto.
So I know. So, Bieber maybe Biebs, Drake. Could Drake be involved? Though he's more of a basketball guy, but
I don't know about Drake.
Maybe Shawn Mendes.
There's some people to consider.
Maybe like a Bo or a Vladdy.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Potentially try and get one of the, if they're not traded by then, which
I was gonna say, yeah,
which is in the news. But yeah, so I love it, man. Like I've been clamoring for this for years, that I want the player draft back into it. Like I do remember being in high school watching this player draft, and like this was an event. Like I had buddies come over, we ordered pizza, not pizza by the way, because that's garbage pizza.
Maybe that's why the Leafs played bad in the first period. They had to honor their pizza sponsorship.
Yeah, it's
don't get me on a rant. Don't get me on a pizza rant right now.
Okay, we're not getting on the pizza rant. Just know that it's garbage pizza, people, and
cardboard.
Anyways,
not garbage, it's cardboard.
Exactly. Good garlic dip, though. Good garlic dip. trash pizza.
Can't mask the taste of that pizza, unfortunately.
Anyways, yeah, I'm stoked, man. Like this was an event for me and my buddies back in the day, and I'm gonna be excited to watch it again this year and see what what kind of fun they can make of it. Lastly, a little bit more of a disappointing situation, obviously, but the news. There was the Corey Perry situation was weird. We talked about it when Chicago was in town because that was kind of when it first picked up the news that he wasn't playing in that game and he wasn't at practice, and no one was really sure exactly what was going on. It was considered a personal matter by the team, and he was on leave. The situation took another turn, I guess, for the worse today, or at least maybe call it a turn toward resolve. But the team placed him on unconditional waivers for the purpose of terminating his contract. So as of tomorrow, he's expected to be, his contract is expected to be terminated, and I'm not really sure what that means for Corey Perry or his future, Dave. Like I don't know. Like, does that mean that's the end of Corey Perry in the NHL? The problem is no one really knows exactly what's happening. It's kind of an ominous situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure eventually one day Corey Perry will have to shed light in some way. I think a lot of NHL teams, with the way that this situation has gone, are gonna be hands off on it for a while until, again, we get a little more detail on what's happening.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if we will, considering how the Blackhawks kept this under wraps as much as they did.
Kyle Davidson, the general manager, spoke today, but he didn't really say. All he did was
That was such an awkward press conference. Like,
Well,
you could tell this guy did not want to be up there, and like just like it was. He had to obviously clear the rumors, the speculation that was out there. I'm not even going to really put them out there. Like that was obviously the reason he went up there, but for Corey Perry and what happened there, like it doesn't help. Like it doesn't really. I understand that it helps clear one thing they want to clear up, but it doesn't clear up the many other questions that are now wondering. And I think that's why Corey Perry is going to be out. I mean, if he even ever comes back, I don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll say this: it was worded as a workplace matter, like not law related, so it doesn't sound like there's like he's breaking any laws or anything like that, but just whatever is going on, did something stupid, I guess, at the rink or something. I don't know. I guess it doesn't make any sense to speculate on what happened until more information comes out, which it always does eventually. I am curious though, Dave, like, do you think this situation will impact his odds at getting into the Hall of Fame? Like, it's kind of a bad ending to a career if this is it for Corey Perry.
Personally, it's going to be one of those gray area ones where unless somebody figures out what happened, I don't think so. I think it'll impact it where he obviously doesn't get in sooner than maybe it was expected. But because like it's so vague of what happened, like you can't really, until they get a proper understanding of what went on. Maybe that's on the Hall of Fame we'll have to talk to the Blackhawks about, right? Because they'll have to do that if they ever consider Patrick Kane for the Hall of Fame.
Barry. Patrick Kane's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Right. I don't know why I said I have Patrick Kane on my brain, but if the Hall of Fame were to put Corey Perry on there, the first call is going to be to the Blackhawks to say, "Hey, we're putting ourselves in a tough situation if we put him into the Hall of Fame."
Well, he's one of those borderline guys as is anyway. Like,
yeah, he's no first ballot slam dunk guy. I'll give you that.
No, like there was a couple of years where he was unbelievable. Like he did win a Hart Trophy, won a Rocket, back in 2010. He's got 420 goals, throughout his career. But sub 900 points throughout his career. The last really 6 years where he's kind of just bounced around from team to team hasn't been great. He did have that 1 year. He had 40 points in Tampa back in 21-22, I guess his first year with Tampa. But yeah, he's not a slam dunk, I guess is what we'll say there. Only twice has he scored over 40. So Yeah, I guess it's not really worth worrying about until it comes to that point. It's just something I thought about, momentarily there when thinking about this whole situation and what could be next. But it's something I guess people will have to, just kind of wait and see on how that whole situation continues to unfold. I guess there's a possibility that he could file a grievance with the NHLPA if he feels he has a case also.
Yeah.
Like he's losing out on a lot of money. Like he signed a $4 million deal and he's only 6 weeks into it. There might be, a lot of money left on the table for him. And if he feels that a contract termination is steep for whatever happened, he might do that and might try and get some more money back, or he could try and go away quietly. Really all depends on what happened, which we do not know the answer to. All right. Anything else around the NHL that I missed? I don't think so.
No, I mean nothing too pressing. I don't think.
No. The Blackhawks traded for Anthony Beauvillier in the middle of the Leafs game.
Oh yeah, 5th-round picks, and now the Canucks have over $4 million in cap space, which means they're going for a defenseman.
Yes, and it could be one that the Maple Leafs could also be targeting. So
yeah, one of the guys that the Leafs are targeting took a puck to the face. That's Chris Tanev. Mike put the jinx on him. He put the curse on him.
Are you kidding me? That makes me want him even more. Are you kidding me? Oh, Mitch Marner took a puck to the face tonight. We did not mention that once on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, he came back with the junior helmet, so he's good. Yeah. Well, we kind of mentioned the junior helmet, but I guess I didn't mention the part of why he was wearing said junior helmet.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcasting platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. If you enjoyed today's show, we ask that you please leave a comment, leave a like on the video as well, or get in touch with us on Twitter, aka X. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.